News First, face to face with Shalan Benedict.
Hello there, very good evening. Welcome to another edition of Face to Face. Back in 2019, when the general public voted overwhelmingly for a candidate, a presidential candidate, and subsequently at the general election granted one political party a massive two-thirds majority in the Parliament of Sri Lanka. One of the first times that a political party has secured a two-thirds majority at the election itself. There have been governments in the past, of course, that had a two-thirds majority in Parliament, but those majorities were secured by way of switching heads in Parliament or crossovers in Parliament. This was one of the first time under the 1978 Constitution that the general public themselves elected a Parliament with an overwhelming two-thirds majority. But only a few years down the line, the Parliament completely let the country down. Today, the country is bankrupt. The president, who was overwhelmingly appointed by the general public, was sent home by the very same general public that appointed him. And the political party that secured this massive two-thirds majority in Parliament is now in shambles. Today we find ourselves in an election year asking or facing the question again, who do we elect to run Sri Lanka for the next 5 years? To discuss these matters and much more, we've got with us on our program today Wasantha Yapa Bandara, attorney at law. He is from the Freedom People's Congress. Of course, he is initially a member elected to a parliament on the ticket of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, now independent in parliament. Thank you very much, Mr. Bandara, for joining us on our program today.
Thank you very much for having me today here at this program.
So, Mr. Bandara, now, I think especially before we get into any more substantive discussions of what's really happening here in Sri Lanka, it's important that we understand where you stand today, because you contested for the election under the ticket of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna. You vouched for President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, you vouched for his policies, you vouched for your colleagues in the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, you vouched for the party and you said that this party will make Sri Lanka prosper. But today, Sri Lanka is bankrupt. So where do you stand today?
Thank you very much again, Shalan. In this time, I no need to repeatedly say that what happened at the couple of years were last. We promised to do many more things for the general public through our we got our mandate, and the people supported us to with many hopes. But finally, what happened? Our leaders, they tried to completely change our agricultural sector and also different sectors. But as a backbencher, we had no faith of those things, and we didn't inform to the people, and we have no such a mandate. But finally, we had to come as a independent, and finally now we are in a opposition party, and we are representing opposition party. But one thing I must very clearly say that we will protect that 69 million votes, and on behalf of that people, we will compete in the next election and or any other election, or the on behalf of people actually we will act and we will try our level best.
So one of the main promises of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, of course, was in their policy document, they said that the SJB, or at the time the UNP, would privatize state-owned enterprises, that their policies, of course, are not favorable for Sri Lanka. And one of the main promises that the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna gave the general public was that they would protect national security, they would bring the perpetrators of the central bank bond scam, the Easter Sunday attacks, all of those scams, they will be brought to book. But none of that has happened. So do you think that the people who voted for you can continue to place their trust in you to maybe take action against these scams that have taken place? Would you continue to pressure whichever political party that you join to include these in their policies or in their promises to the general public at the next election?
Yeah, Shalan, now in this time actually, how can we support the Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe, right? We criticized, repeatedly criticized. I think more than 20 years during that time duration, we criticized. But finally, how can we support to the Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe? Now our leaders, Now they inform us and they are forcing us to support to the Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe. But in this time, actually, we can't take such a mandate. We don't have. So then we will try our level best, as I told you last, that we have to fulfill that people's wants. Now, you know, we are in a bankrupt situation. In this bankrupt situation, actually, that does not suddenly happen. As because of that, the many leaders, right, and also the pressure groups and different kinds of trade unions, most of those things actually behind that. But I think in this time, actually, as a young politician, we have a responsibility to correct that all these things somehow. And I think in this time, as a member of parliament, can the people actually, more than 1 lakh of people actually, they supported me. So then I will fight against this corruption and different kind of things. Actually, this government is not representing our mandate.
So, Mr. Bandara, speaking of the economy, now you brought up the economy and you said that Sri Lanka is bankrupt today, which is a reality that everybody already knows. So, you yourself are an expert, of course, in economics. You have been teaching, as we had a candid conversation before, you've been teaching for over 30 years. You've been teaching students economics. So, didn't you feel or didn't you understand when Sri Lanka was going down this path? Because I believe it was back in 2020 when Dr. Harsha De Silva and opposition leader Sajid Premadasa raised this issue in Parliament and said that we need to go to the IMF. We are not going to be able to pay our debts. We are not going to be able to pay our interest. We need support now. And the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna at the time, correct me if I'm wrong, or at least the senior politicians from the SLPP who stood up in Parliament to respond to those concerns that day, laughed it off. So didn't you understand what Dr. Harsha De Silva was speaking at the time? Did you see this coming?
Yeah. Shalan, now we know very clearly up to 2015, we paid $2 billion annually as our debt repayment.
Right.
But after that, what happened that the Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe came to power as Prime Minister, Economic Minister. Then what happened, he brought here 12.5 billion ISBN loan. So as because of that, we had to pay another $5 billion as per annual debt repayment. Now we are in a very severe condition. Now altogether, you know, very clearly $88 billion we have to pay for the rest of the world. Now, do you know what happened in within this coming 5 years of time period? Our president, he promised to bring $20 billion. When we add the 20 billion to the 88 billion, altogether, that comes to 108 billion. So now, most probably, we have to pay annually $8 billion. $8 billion. So now just pay your attention for that, the financial sector and also the production sector. Now this government has no intention regarding that the production sector or the services sector, right? They have no very clear program for how to enrich, how to uplift our production sector. Without making suitable arrangement for the production sector, I think they can't solve this question, this issue. So what I need to say is this, Shalan. Now understand, when we are changing tax reforms and also when we are taking more loans and restructure different things, we are put into the financial sector, I mean budgetary sector. But only that the budgetary sector, when we are doing different things, actually it does not actually seriously improve the production sector. Now just I take an example for that to clear this incident, dear Shalan. Now you know Israel. They have only 725 square kilometers. We have 65,000 and 610. Now what happened? Now we are trying to actually send our 10,000 people for the working Israel. 10,000 people. Now in this moment actually 1,000 only we send that to the Israel. Now understand, even we have such a very huge environment. But our leaders, what happened they are doing? That actually we didn't even touch to this production sector, I mean that the agriculture sector. Now here, that 1,000 also, most of those people coming from the goal. Why? That our foreign employment minister representing on the goal. So then can we serious problem, this gravity, can we solve this problem? Now, Shalan, my point is this. Now, different things, they show that we are trying to solve this very serious issue, but actually nothing they can done for this question, this serious issue. Probably they will worse this problem, and finally, end of this year, we have to pay somehow $108 billion without doing anything.
So my question to you really is, the general public has a huge issue of trust.
Yeah.
There is no trust in the parliament, there is no trust in parliamentarians, because people place their trust in several individuals and voted them to represent them in parliament on behalf of them, to speak on behalf of them. But the people believe that that hasn't really taken place. Now, you yourself were a member of the government. Now you're in the opposition. Usually what the notion is that when you're in the opposition, it's easy to criticize. But you had power at a time. Of course, you were a backbencher, so whatever you could have done was limited. But my question to you again is that when Dr. Harsha De Silva raised this matter in Parliament back in 2020, were you aware that Sri Lanka was heading for bankruptcy, for a crisis like this? Were you aware?
Of course. Shalan, I think more than 100 times in our group meeting, we emphasize not to do this thing. I mean, especially that regarding that the agricultural changing 100% organic farming, we 100 times. Finally, what happened? 10 of our backbenchers, right? We seriously informed the President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. If you do so, and if you have no faith and if you have no special, changement in that suitable areas, especially regarding that the IMF loan. Now you know he had a big delay. So then we had to explain that the seriousness of that the problem's gravity. But they didn't take it into account. Finally, what happened? 10 of us explained that we can't work with you and we will deviate. And finally, we announced that publicly. We are not we are not representing this government, but we will work according to our independent ideas.
That happened, correct me if I'm wrong, but in this beginning of 2022,
yes,
that happened.
Yeah.
So, but then at that point already the fertilizer decision had been taken.
Yeah.
So what was the immediate prompt that made you, made these 10 parliamentarians or whichever number of group from the SLPP really move out?
Yeah. Now, Shalan, 2020, August 5th, actually, we came to the parliament. 20 or around those days, we came to the parliament. You know, at that time, what happened? Before we are coming to the parliament, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, he already made that decision, cutting down the tax, right? So what can we do for after cutting that? So but
Parliament is supposed to decide on tax reforms, financial sector matters.
Of course.
Why did you defer to the President?
Of course, because actually we have seen that 3 different pillars in that the Parliament and the outside, right? One pillar is that the President House, another pillar is in that the party office, right? And the third pillar is in the Prime Minister's office. So there were 3 different pillars. As a backbencher, now understand, Shalan, if you are giving me an idea to you could have a big change, but right, do in that time duration, I think very practical. It is not practical. Then what happened? We can force them to not to do that. But finally that happened.
But did you vote in favor of the reduction in taxes? You voted in favor?
In this time?
The last time, when taxes were reduced in 2020, I believe.
Before we are coming to that happened.
So, but that has already happened?
Yeah, to happen, already happened. Then actually nothing we have to do that time period. But finally, we especially emphasize, hurry up to take the loan from the IMF. So that is the ultimate option. Now you know that the last payment our government didn't take to the country. I mean 16th IMF loan. In last installment we did take. So overestimation we had. I mean, we means actually our president and the government. So finally they delay, and after that the serious problem arise. But I think there may be actually our responsibility. But as a backbencher, you know, our more than 70 our backbenchers come under very big pressure. So the decision makers are the cabinet members. Now you know what happened to the former our health minister and different people, what they have done in that serious issues actually happen. But for everything actually we also have to face.
So, but are you saying that your contribution to whatever decisions that Parliament makes, I understand the practical issue here, but at the end of the day, the general public votes for you and sends you to Parliament to represent them. Now, I can understand an issue on maybe some grey area where there was a decision that was made. It could have been good, it could have been bad, and you had one opinion and you tried to voice your opinion, but you couldn't, and you were shut down, and then the decision was made and it went down the bad way. I would understand a situation like that, but this is regarding a country going bankrupt. So even the SLPP, when you have 70 backbenchers or whichever number of backbenchers seeing that this is really happening, how did you convince yourself to say, oh, there's too much pressure, so I'm not going to, you know, challenge the leadership on this. I tried to challenge the leadership, but they didn't listen to me, so I'm just going to vote in favor of whatever they do in Parliament.
No, practically, Shalan, in favor of that government, actually, we can't vote, you know. We didn't do actually different things, I mean, against the public opinion. That is what actually we 10 of us had to take the serious decision. But actually, when you are very carefully see that the political arena in our country, history, very rarely such things happen. So we 10 got a very serious decision. Don't know what will happen future. Probably they don't give us a ticket so next time compared the election. But nothing we need other than that our public opinion. So that is what actually we had to do ultimately. So end of the day, we got that decision serious.
So now one of your own colleagues, the former health minister Kehelia Rambukwella, is in hot water at least over the immunoglobulin scam. Now he was a member who contested from the SLPP, who, well, of course, got into Parliament, held ministerial portfolios, and under the government of President Ranil Wickremesinghe too, held the portfolio of the Minister of Health. Now, the SJB brought a no-confidence motion in Parliament against former Minister Kehelia Rambukwella. How did you vote for in that?
Yeah, you know very clearly, I'm the person I had to represent Geneva General Conference. After having that conference, I made a statement against the government, I mean especially the health minister, former health minister, because he misled the cabinet. He brought a cabinet paper to the cabinet, and finally what happened now, I think the sole responsibility belongs to that former health minister, because you know that human immunoglobulin, that is a very sensitive drug. First they thought of having it from the India. They emphasized that we are taking from the India, but finally we understood that they are not bringing it to the India. They formed that, they made that here. So my point is this, Shalan. Before producing that production, I mean drug, they should have a proper GMP, good manufacturing practices certificate. So they can't actually take such a, I mean biopharma company, they can't take it because actually they never produce such a production here, they are but they got it after having this letter. This letter issued by secretary.
To the Ministry of Health.
Yeah. I mean that GMP and the cabinet paper, right, made under our former minister. You know, in this time actually we are spending money after getting that the Indian credit line loan. So Indian credit line loan, when we are allocating some amount, there should be a cabinet paper. Then human immunoglobulin is also come under that Indian credit line facility. So that minister submit that cabinet paper to the cabinet. So then now no need to find out that the mastermind, who has the mastermind for this human immunoglobulin crisis. So the former minister, CID, has a responsibility. You know what happened? I was questioned by the CID 5 hours of time period. But thing is, actually we are taking the message now.
So what were you questioned on at the CID? This is regarding the immunoglobulin scam.
Yeah, they are asking us how to take that, getting from many different kind of informations from other side, and how do you take these informations. I think that the information finding is not a matter for behind that. So we are finding we have a mandate. We have to do many more things on behalf of our public people. So then we got those informations and we raised it in the parliament. And Shalan, me and Dr. Kavind Jayawardena, we both raised that question in the parliament. Finally, do you know what happened? That our minister, he told like this.
So if you could maybe summarize what he said, I think
yeah. He is explaining Kalakanyo Parayanda Gahannon. Now see that
he's referring to you.
Me and Dr. Kavind Jayawardena. So then finally what happened? 113 members voted for the former minister.
So but these are members who contested the election with you, the general election with you. These are your colleagues who voted in his favor.
Of course, that's it. Mr. Kehelia Rambukkal also contested with me.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think there are not more than 1,000 votes, that he and me. But the thing is actually, on behalf of the one party we contested, that is not a matter. So when they are doing wrong things against the public, general public, so then we have to work against the corrupted politicians. So don't know what happened.
So now that you're alleging that so many members who you contested with are corrupt in this way, as you quite rightly said, over several decisions that they've made, are you telling the general public that you didn't know that these colleagues of yours, including former Minister of Health Kehelia Rambukkal, were this corrupt, or you didn't believe that they were this corrupt before you joined the SLPP and contested under that party? You didn't know?
But actually, I know that everything 100% we can't take as very clear, crystal clear, we can say.
So you had a doubt? Yeah,
I had a doubt. Definitely, I had a doubt. But when there is a wrong thing, the 1 second I will take action. So this thing also same. Though that we can contest the same movement, same line, but when they do so, then we can't appreciate it and we can't protect them. Then I had to take that issue to the parliament, and not only parliament. You know, once that speaker told me to, he told me to, I can't allow you to be there, and
removed you and Nalin Bandara from parliament.
Nalin Bandara and me. Then what happened? I had to take it to the Geneva General Conference. When they are not giving me to actually raise this question in the parliament, then I'll have another different options. I can come to the road and the different places, right? We have another different stages. When they are believing that the only place that we have to raise that our question is the parliament, no, there are many more things. But in this movement also, they will realize that the Wasantha and other people, they come to an isolate place and they have no other option. But we'll see what will happen is coming election. So we will work against those corrupted people.
Well, of course, there is much to prove on your part, because you contested under a party that promised so much to the general public, and now the people are in shambles, the country is in shambles, and their hopes are all but gone. However, an election is coming around, alliances are being formed, positions are being taken in the political arena, and the general public will decide who they are going to trust this time. And this decision that the general public will make, of course, will be imperative to ensure a bright future for all Sri Lankans and for generations to come. Thank you very much, Attorney at Law Wasantha Bandara, for joining us on our program today. Thank you very much to all our viewers out there for also tuning in. Until we meet again, take care and God bless.